So, yesterday I had a pretty intense experience consuming fungus of the magical variety. And during that experience, I watched this movie, Beyond the Black Rainbow, the other movie by Panos Cosmatos. The other movie that this person made that I watched was Mandy with Nicolas Cage. These movies, Mandy and this one, are very similar. Now, for those of you that don't know, Nicolas Cage was like a fan of this movie, and that's why he wanted to do Mandy, this guy's second film. So again, I want to talk about the movie, and then I want to talk about how, the mushroom experience I had, because I don't honestly know how much of this video is going to be me reviewing this movie, because I don't know if what I was seeing was actually in the movie. It's difficult to explain. It's really difficult to explain, right? So, I watched this movie in like the first half of the mushroom experience. So, I think I started watching it maybe like 20 or 30 minutes in. So like by the time the movie starts playing, like I'm already kind of entering, the zone, as it were. So like this, I don't even, I'm trying to describe this movie. I'm really trying to like piece together the plot line. And so this, now again, for those of you that don't know why I watched this movie on Shrooms, is because I know Mandy, this guy's other film with Nicolas Cage. I know that this guy does movies, they're shroom movies. I don't know what else. This is like a genre that isn't like, there's no list or anywhere, but this is a genre that I'm gonna create a list called shroom movies. This is a fucking shroom movie. So there's like a lot of like in this movie that doesn't really, it's very artistic, like the musical expression, like the way that the scenes work, like the camera, the cinematography, the way the actors deliver their lines, the characters are, it's extremely fucking bizarre. It's extremely goddamn bizarre. And so like, again, I don't know how to even talk about this movie, because I don't even know if I even watched the movie. It was on. I was absorbing the information that was coming out of my screen and my speakers, but I don't know if that's the movie. I don't know. But so basically there's like a young woman who's like trapped in like some, spoilers by the way, who's trapped in some sort of like, I don't know, experiment, like, and something. And then you've got like a Carl Sagan looking motherfucker, who's like a therapist. And like he talks about how he takes like 9 drugs that like manufacture happiness in the world or something, and like they're all like weird like variations of psychedelics. And it's and then so like there's like it's just like a bunch of bizarre scenes. Like not much actually happens in the movie, right? But it's still like they have a lot of like moments in the movie where it's like a slow zoom in on like some crazy ass lights, and you're like, again, if you're watching this sober, you're probably go like, oh, this is boring. But if you're on drugs like I was, it was like, oh my fucking god, like you've got the fucking like, the Ethereum logo is popping out into your brain, right? Like it's crazy, right? So you've got like all these lights going on, the slow zoom ins, you've got like the guy dressed like Carl Sagan walking around, right? You've got these like really bizarre like scenes where there's like characters that are like, like on these, like they're like like there's this one scene where like a nurse or something is opening a file cabinet or something, and it's like I'm so stressed out because the music is like super fucking like incredibly like anxiety inducing, and like I'm on shrooms, and I'm like, like it's kind of like it's crazy. I don't know, again, if this is like my personal experience versus the movie. I don't know if the like watching this movie would always elicit this kind of experience. I have no idea. Don't do drugs, folks. But again, like there's parts of this movie where I started like having like, symptoms commonly associated with a bad trip, right? Because the music was like, it's like slowly creeping. It's like daunting, it's scary, it's horrifying. And then like then the scene is over. Right? And then like there's a lot of like these sharp scene transitions, right? So it'll go like the music is loud, right? Like there's like a lot of like dialogue, the screen is like zooming in on something creepy, and then it's like, again, there's no transition, there's no fade, it's just, the audio is loud and then it stops. Like there's no fade out, it just stops and you're in a whole new area. And then I was like, oh, I'm fine again. It was really, it's, because it's a shroom movie, right? Like the guy was obviously tripping on multiple drugs. probably all at the same time, probably throughout the entire creative process. Um, and so like again, like it's like it really it's like it brings you into these kinds of like universes in your brain, and then it has these like transitions that just like really shift everything, and it's great. It's incredible. Is so fucking good. Now again, the plot of this movie, I don't quite understand it. So the main character, who's like the evil Carl Sagan therapist on drugs, right? There's this one scene in the movie where like he's having like a flashback of like when he like did LSD in the 60s as a kid or something, and like that scene, like I like again, like when you are on shrooms, right, or any psychedelic, I assume. I've only done shrooms, but like, and I do them a lot. But like, you know, like you experience time dilation, and that's something that this movie really kind of like is good at, right? Because like when there's like a 30-second like scene of like something like slowly zooming in or out or something, that 30-second scene is like 16 years, and like, you know, you're stuck in that scene as like it's like you're there for a long time, right? And so like there's this like one scene like kind of like maybe halfway, maybe a little bit later than halfway in the movie, where they like do like this like flashback scene or whatever, and it's like him doing drugs as a kid, and like it's super, like it's obviously fucking insane, it's crazy, and there's so many like there's, you know, so many lights and like flashes, and it's like there's black and white portions, and it's like hard contrasts in the colors, and there's like it's it's a great movie. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know about this cover. The cover is kind of weird. It makes it look like it's kind of like a Friday the 13th style like slasher movie. It's not that at all. Like it's not. The cover is like the most misleading thing I've ever seen in my life. And so that's a thing. But again, so like I watched this movie for like I finished the movie probably around like 2.5 hours throughout my experience. And so again, like I had like I can't, it's hard to tell if the movie elicited this experience. You know, it's I don't, you know, this, I don't know how to, I don't right. So you know, I've had a lot of anxiety, maybe, I guess, in my life over the last couple of weeks. You know, I don't talk about a lot of that stuff on my show because there's, you know, I'm experiencing life events that occur. Not all of them are great. And so, but like, so like throughout this movie, there's lots of the parts of the movie where like there's no dialogue, right? So like it allowed, like, you know, you're not focusing on words, or like you're not focusing on characters, right? So like my mind is like, you know, when you're experiencing, I definitely want to watch this movie sober. That's a good point, Catherine, in the chat. Watch it again more sober. I will at some point for sure. But so again, so you know, when those scenes are happening, like my mind would like drift into like, you know, thinking about things that are going on in my life, right? Like, you know, over the last couple of weeks, the last like couple of years, and then all of a sudden, like I'm 5 years old again, right? So it's like, you know, like it allowed me to like really kind of like, and then like again, like there's the parts of the movie where like the music is starting to like get like very pounding, right? So the music is getting crazy, like the shit on screen is getting crazy, and I'm like starting to think about things that cause me anxiety, right? And then like again, those hard reset transition points, like they would snap me out of it, and then I'd be back in the movie, and I'd be like, you know, I'd be like, oh yeah, I guess these things don't matter, you know, like that, you know, it's I don't know, it was very interesting for me personally. And then after the movie, I was like playing with Max the dog for a little bit, and that was great. And then I just kind of, you know, I was just kind of thinking about a lot of stuff, and it was pretty great. You know, one of my things is I've had quite a few so-called bad trips, and this one definitely was very similar to a couple of them for quite a bit. And I as I always say, I think a bad trip is just a good trip that's, you know, it's bad while it's happening, but then afterwards, it's you're good. I mean, like I don't know, like that's what I kept focusing on, is like whatever is causing me intense anxiety, like ultimately I'm gonna be fine. And that's kind of like the message that I would keep resolving on. So you know, it's definitely it was a very enlightening experience. I was definitely teetering on the edge of the gone zone, for sure. Which I would consider the gone zone. If you're a shroomer, the Gone Zone is when you are completely like your ego has dissolved entirely and you are like one with the universe. I call it the Gone Zone. Um, I definitely did not achieve that exactly. Um, I didn't even do that much. Like my dose was not that high. It was less than a gram. But like for me, like I don't know. So like I was yesterday's show. If you go back and watch yesterday's show, I was vaping on the legal weed like the whole morning. So I think that was also like a contributing factor. Um, but either way, I was like teetering on the edge. Like I was like under a big weighted blanket too, and it was super comfortable. And I was like oh, I was so comfortable, and I was like, it was. I don't even know how to explain it, but I again don't know if it's the movie that elicited that reaction. I can't, I think the movie definitely was like the. I like sometimes when I do these experiences, I like having like a movie on because it's like if I get too deep in my own head, there's some external stimuli that I can focus on, right? So it's like if you get too scared or something, you can always look at the movie, and the movie was very good in the way of like having those like those big like reset points throughout the movie, like like the movie was designed to be watched while under the influence of drugs, which I do not recommend doing. Drugs are bad for you. And so it was very interesting. It was a very good guide, I can say. But yeah, man, yesterday that was crazy. So I know I did a show yesterday and people commented on the show. You might have noticed I didn't edit any of the clips yesterday because I was so enthralled with the experience. I kind of just like unplugged for the rest of the day. I didn't really look at like anything at all. But anyway, goddamn, it was incredible. I mean, it was incredible. A great movie. Again, I don't even like the movie is good, but like especially on drugs. I don't know if you're watching it sober. I don't know. I can't. I didn't. I don't know. Honestly, this is like I might as well just like be talking about any movie because I don't like about it. I would definitely. It is a good movie. So, I enjoyed it. And if you like Mandy, this is the same guy who made Mandy, but this is their first film, so it's very good. Very much so enjoyable. Goddamn. I will check my Discord DMs at some point. I promise. I'm a little chilly right now. One of the things that was happening in my trip yesterday was like I was so cold, like throughout a lot of it. And I had this weighted blanket on, so I was like shivering intensely, like as like I was having like the extreme anxiety portions of my experience. I was like shivering intensely and like holding the weighted blanket up, and like I couldn't feel my body because of the weight of the blanket, and it was like my body was like melting into the blanket, or like my body was the blanket, like I was the blanket, like I was like the being that like my like instead of having like a body, it was like a head and a blanket, and that was my form, and I was pretty crazy. Pretty fucking crazy. It's pretty crazy. I don't know. It was, and now here I am, and I woke up, and now I'm doing a goddamn. I'm here once again.